focus on the lesson. Live in the hills, but I still get a spread. Started with a live, but I still reinvest it. Fear how I feel, then you feel it's a blessing. I just want the lesson, I just want protection. I'm up and I'm down, but they sound like progression. Farmer never plans if he waits for perfection. Finger to the down, hold it.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I got your watch list coming in at April 16, 2021, and the stock market is going to start ignoring things. And I got 3 stacks that I'm looking at coming into the end of the week, but today was an almost perfect day. We gapped up 1%. This was a very big move, and then we kept edging up higher. Tech stocks were the leader, but it was good to see some broader support out of the S&P 500, and even the Dow and value did good too. But this has to do with the news as well as earnings, and this is what I mean here, because we got some weird moves with TLT in the bonds as well as the dollar and oil, and it's not too important just yet, but as we get into tomorrow and then next week, all of the big earnings are going to start coming out, and the market is going to be prone to start ignoring things. So I got a little criteria for you guys. I'll let you know what we need to be watching for. Other than that, it is going to be a lot about positioning and how you saw the market trade this week. You're probably going to see a lot of that over the next 2 weeks, depending on what we see from the report. So I hope you're ready, but we got a lot to talk about. I want to go over what happened in the market today, what we're looking at tomorrow, the plays that we made, and then the plays that we have for tomorrow for the Froggy Friday. So let us not delay. You guys know what you need to do. Drop your thumbs up on the video. Make sure you're subscribed. And if you don't know, we are live Monday through Friday, 30 minutes before open. It's the first link in the description, and it is pinned in the comments. We better see you there in the morning. It's free $99. It costs you nothing to join. YouTube.com/TheStockMarket. You can post the plays, see the plays, watch the watch list come to life. And yes, if you're willing to see what's about to happen next, okay, then we are the place to be. And the most important thing you need to do, post your watch below. Let us know what you're looking at. Got any plays, comments, remixes, anything, post them below and source that info. Shout out to Chad, baby. So right off the bat, earnings was definitely the key. You saw all of those industries report this morning. There was no surprisers. There was good earnings. Everything was looking great. But now the real nail in the coffin was retail sales. So all of this is probably more important than you think. You got to see the earnings effect, but one thing I couldn't have forecasted why we bounced, we were expecting this move, but the little extra boost that came today was because of retail sales. The retail sales numbers came in 50% higher than expected, and they were already pricing in and expecting a huge gain, so it was huge. But the real importance of this moving forward, it could explain some of the value rotation, but this is that shift in the economy. It's highlighting what happened with the stimulus checks. It's bringing up a lot of different points, but overall it was very, very positive, and it relates to a lot of the different factors with inflation and everything like that. So that was a little boost we got to see today. It had an effect, and you saw how the market played out. This was all from the open. Market took it very, very well, and then even on top of that, the bonds were actually doing good. So bond yields went down. Some people think that means bonds are doing bad. No, the yields coming down means there's higher demand. That's why you saw TLT go up, but overall you got good reports out of various industries, got good guidance, no bad guidance, really good retail sales that validated a lot of that economic shift rotation back to open move. And then on top of that, the rates dropped more today pretty much than they have in a month, easing some of that pressure from the tech stocks and everything like that. So overall, very, very bullish, but it does come back to earnings, and it did bring up some new things. Now, as far as tomorrow, it should be chill, but watch out for the waves that you've been seeing this week. You saw how the market reacted a little bit in the morning and then came down towards close, and then this morning it gapped up, chilled out most of the day, and then had one big move, and then you really saw earnings mode turn off and on, this red light, green light like we talked about. So tomorrow is going to be a really interesting day because it doesn't have to move, but it just might, or we might see some specific winners and losers because everybody is going to be setting up for the earnings for next week. You're going to get a lot more bigger companies. So we need your help, Chad, calling out a lot of the winners and losers tomorrow. It's actually going to be very, very important. If we could spot them early, it will be key, and that brings up another point, whether you're trading the options or not, but especially if you want to buy some of the options, watch the premiums after the morning. I was talking about a Snapchat play, the pricing in relative to earnings and all that, but be careful here because after it moves in the morning, if it's setting up for earnings, pretty much if it makes a big option move, an option gain, it's probably not going to move the rest of the day until close. A lot of people are leading into the option prices, and that's what you got to see here. Some options were really cheap. Then right when the stock would move in the direction, the premium would shoot up. But even though the stock would keep going, the premium did not go up with it. So this is a very iconic trait of earnings, both before but mainly after, but just keep that in mind and it will tell you a lot about what's going on. So definitely keep your eye on that. As far as the final thing, like I said, the bonds were very, very weird today. It was mostly positive because yields coming down eases a lot of the pressures with bonds we saw last month. The tech, the inflation, the dollar catching up to it, all of that. It was overall good, but the thing that was really surprising today was the velocity. So you could actually see here, this is your first decent sized one-day candle on TLT, but at some point right after that first hour, the bonds were rocketing and it was actually going up, TLT up, aka bonds going down, faster than the market was moving, and thankfully it chilled out. But like we've always talked about, velocity is the only thing that could surprise. So the fact it got kind of calm, I'm taking that as overall bullish, but there is other factors that got brought up that make it interesting because I would watch for the velocity with bonds. And again, now the market is going to ignore a lot as we get into the bigger companies. So it's going to give us some time, but watch the bonds. But now the velocity is important because if it goes down too fast, TLT goes up too much, the question is, are people rushing there from safety? So now we're going to tie that into some bad news. There was a lot of the oil Russia drama. Even Kramer brought up the effects of inflation and oil going up. And we have definitely talked about that here because we always have this chart up. You guys have seen it. But oil's been at this level. It doesn't always mean that it's going to make the market come down. Actually, last time, oil preceded the market coming up and then it came down and then it balanced out. But now the S&P is actually the leader. But nonetheless, now in this case, the news that's making oil go up, that is more concerning than the price reflating itself. Reflation means going back to normal. If it keeps going at a higher pace, again, that's back to velocity, but now with bonds, that would be a negative. So if there's any of this Russia drama that leads to higher oil or you see any of that play out and that gets negative, that might have an effect on bonds or also global currencies. We'll talk about that. But at the same time, other stuff too. So I want to watch those events and then pretty much anything negative out of China as well. Those are things that can affect it. And I think we're going to get our signal, and this is the best part, because if nothing bad happens, it's going to respond to earnings. So if there is something that really does happen economically that's not good, there will be a lag between global indicators moving in the market because of earnings, or the only way you really start to see momentum get killed right now would be if there was a really bad earnings miss. That's the Grim Reaper, bad guidance, bad report, and it drops a big name, high flyer, 10-15% or something like that. That could definitely spook the market out a little bit. But unless that happens, we have a earnings season and there's gonna be opportunity, and I hope you're ready, but that is pretty much it. So let us get into the plays. So, right off the bat, I got 4 different plays. 2 are broken up into groups, but I got a good play for tomorrow that I think can be a frogger, and the best part is I get to be your test dummy, but that is going to be net. So, I'm still holding that $80 call from the beginning of the week, and the best part about it, that call is actually holding up. It dropped a little bit at close, but the fact that it still had a decent value and is still up from when we bought it at the beginning of the week, the stock is hovering right below 80, so having value coming in tomorrow, it's telling you really where the market is pricing it in. So right before close, that contract was pricing in $1, then the stock slipped that last 30 minutes, then it came down about 30 cents, but pretty much right now, the stock is getting priced in to go above 80, and by the morning, we will see. So if you don't see this thing hit right away, it's probably going to be a frog if you do see momentum later in the day. Think DoorDash last week. So the best part is, I'm still in this play. We're going to see what happens. By monitoring it, we'll be able to get a better idea, and then we'll see where the underlying asset is. But I really, really like this play. I'm still holding it. You guys will get to learn something about the weeklies too, even comparing it to last week's Microsoft. So I really like that play. And then the second play, Microsoft, they are still a huge leader and the premiums are up, but now they are kind of lagging. So that's what I want to watch. All week, the contracts were going up, but now since it kind of had this little stop and go the last 2 days, you're seeing Microsoft hit a high, but now the premiums were starting to slow down later in the day. We saw this on those other earnings, and this is what I'm telling you to watch out for, because this is what happens a lot with earnings, and sometimes you might get caught on the wrong side of the pre-earnings run-up trade. It happened quite a few times last earnings, if you guys remember. So you got to be cautious on that, but that's what I want to watch. We already got one of those plays, still holding the May 275s, but they're up about 400-500% now. So if those break out, expectations might be changing. If they don't go higher than that, it might be pricing in everything. So I want to see what happens with there. Then I want to watch Snapchat and Netflix. These are going to be your big earnings run-ups for tomorrow. Netflix has less premium, but but Snapchat got a boost this morning, but then it did that premium stall that I was just talking about. I was looking at the Snapchats this morning. I brought them up yesterday. It did what I said. They were looking to be that earnings run up. They dropped a little bit. The market was up. After 5 minutes, they shot up. Contracts shot up 50%, but even as Snap hit more and more highs, the contracts did not go up further than what they did after the first 30 minutes. But comparing that to Netflix, I have some of those other leaps. We've talked about them a few times, but these things went up as much as like 5%, but pretty much you can see they've kind of haven't gone up higher than here. It's kind of been stalling out, but that week prior, they had more of the run up. You'll see when I go to the chart. So I like both of these plays. These are going to be two big ones coming in the next week. I want to see how tomorrow plays out and how investors start positioning for them. But those are going to be the third plays. And then finally, RKT and UWMC. You got news on both. RKT was added to the BUZZ ETF, and then it was the Motley Fool Thursday stock pick. But then you also got UMC reacting as sympathy. But then around the same time, the CEO of UWMC, he actually came out and said that they were like the #1 wholesale lender over the last 6 months. #2, and then RKT in the front probably as far as overall lender. So that was kind of good, but it did what it did. You know, they bounce and then come back. So let's see what's about to happen next, okay? But those are going to be the main plays. As far as everything else, still watching Coinbase, and I'm sure you guys want to update on it. We got to give the people an update. We were literally break even at open. Remember, our average after averaging down is 354, so we were actually at break even this morning. Slipped throughout the day. Looked pretty ugly, but we're overall down $1,800, down $193, 8.42%. Still holding, and I still like it. Again, different financial positions, everything else, but with a $20,000 position, $1,800 seems pretty bearable. It's not that bad, but again, I did have some aggressive average down, so if you put in less, you might be down a lot more, but with an average down, it could change things, but again, none of that's a recommendation. Options traditionally risky. You can lose so much financial reps, so financial rise, occasional perps, only thing every day. But be smart about it. Again, the best thing I said is some people, if you're like really, really jumpy, you put a lot and you keep watching it. Again, this is still having a lot of eyes. We're going to be watching it all day. I think it's going to be interesting tomorrow, especially how it sets up for next week, but a lot of people would be better off just turning off their computer, deleting their trading app, and coming back in about a month or two. Don't underestimate how much damage you could do by constantly watching it if you are really just getting sensitive or prone to those amounts, or you put a lot of money into it. You got to really think about that, but now may not be the time to change your mind. But Watchcoin, going to be keeping my eyes on them. Again, Microsoft and RKT, SAP, they started going up today. They kind of gave back, or they gained a little bit to that whole thing. So I think this Friday, tomorrow, they could be good. I'm also going to be putting them on Frog Watch. I think they're going to be good. We also have that play. And yesterday, it didn't really go up much, but you can see we didn't make too much today, but that's overall chilling up a quarter. So this one has a lot of time. I think the weeklies will be good too. I like the ones with time, but in general too, they are going to report next week. They had that good upside guidance. It may already be priced in, but if they are able to surprise, they do have a lot of upside. So I want to see how that one plays out. Watch them. Watch Uber. They had a lot of strength today. Again, pay attention to the companies not only showing strength on the bad days, and that was Uber, but now also even doing good on the good days, benefiting off a lot of the retail reopening trade. They are part of that economical shift, I would say. So that was very, very good. Watch them. I'm going to watch them for Friday. Watch the airlines. They didn't do good. Even Southwest had positive news about getting more airlines back. They're recalling 300 pilots to work. So watch them. Watch GME. I forgot what made them pop here today. I think they got added to the BUZZ ETF, but I said I'm not going to play it again at this point. Even with a lot of this stuff we're seeing, I think there's going to be a great opportunity in the market. I strongly encourage you to go for real quality names and value. Pretty much, if you can't tell me why it's good right now and you have to tell me about the future, that may not be the best one. Not saying be closed-minded, not saying miss out, but understand you're watching a certain trend play out, and not all of them are doing it, but a lot of pops drop, come back up, but you're seeing the slow death of a lot of stocks, and we brought that up. Everything from SOS to Tattoo Chef to CCIV, a lot of these hype names. You even saw an EV maker go down on news that Mercedes is going to make electronic vehicle. If one of the biggest automakers getting into EV is a threat to your company, that may not be the best investment. Or how is that not priced in? Everything's priced. All I'm saying is find a company that looks good without the filter, but watch them. Watch Netflix. Again, I really like them, but the one I really want to compare them to is Disney, so kind of inverse today. But Netflix is going to report next week. I think Disney might be the same week or the week after, but they are now connected through the streaming stuff. I see how Disney hasn't moved too much since that first burst at the beginning of the year, so I like both of those in tandem. Watch them. AMD had some news. They had a big pop, a lot of the chip makers, but 5.7%. 1%. I think that's part earnings, and you might see an earnings run up set up. Very good volume, very good value comparative to where it started at the year. Still up overall, so you got to be a little careful for that, but we'll see what happens with that one. Might want to set up an earnings run up play, but I may not play it for earnings. Somebody asked me that today, and just AMD, it's usually like a weird expensive, and it hasn't surprised in a while, so we'll see. So watch them, watch Net, watch Dash. Same exact logic as last week, even this week. Unfortunately, we got in too early, and it stalled after those 2 days, but if it has a breakout tomorrow on Friday, that could be a good play, so watch them. Snap, and then TTC. Toro, I don't know if we confirmed this news, but they just had a huge pop at the end of close and even after hours, so if we could confirm this. But any big winners tomorrow are going to be important, so you got to call those out. And then finally, we already talked about it a lot, but TLT, everything is looking chill. This was fine as long as the velocity is not too crazy. It's just going to widen the range now of where rates are on the lower end, which is good, and this could ease some of the pressure and kind of make sense that rates are going lower as the market is getting kind of a little bit more fearful, or if anything, it could bring in more money. But overall, if it moves up too fast, it could start looking like a fear indicator. Here's the dollar having some weird after hours move, and the candle looks pretty big, but it pretty much did not really get affected today, which is overall good, and that's what we want to see. But if it does shoot up, that is going to be the worry sign. But like I said, you have your events, and with our market getting into earnings mode, don't forget we're just starting. So the fact that you're seeing some bigger moves now, this is good and bad, but mainly the good is if something really did snitch, you will have time and the market will ignore it. Bad because you may not see it and it may not be obvious, but that's what we're here for, baby. So I hope you're ready. But that is your watch list, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure hydrate, healthy, ready to go. Make sure you post your watch list. Make sure we see you there in the morning. I need the armor on. I need the helmet shining. You could show love, but can you show mercy, baby? But the code loves you. I love you. I'm gonna see you in the morning. Let's go.